Hello and welcome everybody to the Box 3 Pro-Am GT3 GT4 Round 3 here at Watkins, Glen. I'm so excited to be here tonight. Joined with me in the booth is going to be Phil Milwee. Phil, welcome.
Hey Mike, how are you doing today? Watkins, Glen, round 3 of the GT3 GT4 Pro-Am series. I'm super excited about this. I don't know about you.
I am so pumped. We have 31 extremely talented drivers out on the field here tonight, currently in the qualifying session, putting some laps down, or at least getting ready to. They're currently out on their out lap. Welcome everybody in chat. And thank you, Gasolina, for my background. Yes, of course, it's Christmassy. It's the holiday season here. And hope everyone's having a lovely holiday season, enjoying getting ready to spend some time with the family, and if not, hopefully have a little bit of time off and take it easy. Of course, I'm Mike Noss in the booth. Hope everyone's having a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Watkins Glen. Phil, I don't know about you, but this track, 3.4 miles, 11 corners, 6 to the left, 5 to the right. We're in for some action here tonight, are we not?
Oh yeah, I've watched this will be my second race this weekend, watching at Watkins Glen, seeing the GT3, GT4s on track. Super excited about that. Got a little bit of a taste of it in the Box 3 SIMSA series with the IMSA kind of like class format. And man, this track can really deliver some really elbows out racing. I think the bus stop chicane, and we're going to see people throw it up turn 1 and maybe maybe looking at the final corner. So I think there's a lot of places where people can kind of like push one another around, and we're going to get to see some spicy action, I think.
Absolutely. It's a tricky track to overtake on. I know you mentioned that famous inner loop, the bus stop chicane. A lot of people think that that's a very good overtaking opportunity. It's not. It's a very tricky one. Very tough to make your car. You have to be so committed, as you said, elbows out, ready to stick it up the inside. And as we head down into the game here, we're going to take a look at the track, of course, as well as these cars out. Lovely cars. Oh my. Okay, well, great timing there from Rick Pixel, who puts it into the barrier as soon as we come down into the session. You love to see it. Current times, not yet though.
Yeah, we are getting set up for people to start putting in some time lapse here, as the GT3s are going to be out on track first. Going to be looking at, what is that? Let me pull up my data from earlier. I believe it was 42s, or like blitz fast, but gonna try and see if we can see some people get into the 43s in this session, I think. My Apex data.
And we're seeing some stream stuttering here, are we not? Is that just me, anybody? Are we seeing some stream stuttering here? That's very odd.
Let me see. I'll flip over and take a peek.
I'm hoping that's just on my end, but I'm assuming not. And that's pretty bad stream stuttering as well. But welcome, everybody. Charlie Booth sticking it up onto pole position. The Kiwi driver. 1:45.0 is the time to beat. Zolotarev in P2. Now getting beat by Dollander in getting dropped down to third.
I've got it on good authority that Brian Canopin is not very experienced at this track, but still only 1/10 off of Dollander right now. So I think that's a pretty good showing for the Lambo driver. And he's not that far off Charlie Booth either.
My. Do we have any update on that stream quality, by the way?
That right there. So from what I'm seeing, not seeing anything other than, yeah, it doesn't look like it's stuttering bad on my end. Like
okay,
it just looks,
my end?
Yeah.
Not stuttering bad for me. Lovely. I'm glad to hear that it isn't stuttering for anyone else. Nothing awful.
Yeah.
A little bit, not too bad. Oh, man, it's really bad for me. That's very odd.
The big things that I always check is making sure your bit rate's correct, and then also just making sure that you don't have anything like any kind of like custom overlays or something like that. Well, I mean, you're using ACC TV, but ACC TV sometimes can be a bit of a hog for me.
No, I'm using, unless it's awesome sim racing. That's the only thing that I could possibly think, because I've never lagged before while streaming, but I don't know.
You don't even need that on anymore. Now that you got the sync done, you can shut that app off. You're good to go. Just taking a look at some of the data while we're troubleshooting that. So Charlie Booth with a 44.540 still on top. Ivan Zoltarev is going to punch in with a 46.065. And we're still waiting to see some other GT3 runners posting some higher times. We got some 48s, 49s in the mix.
Awesome. In chat saying that it's looking good. Maybe a little tiny bit of stuttering, but looking good. That's so odd. Like I said, I've never had stuttering on a stream before, so that's just very odd.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're rolling. Qualifying here. We got 14 minutes left. We see the number 42 driver here of Jim McGovern coming around the final corner and about to begin his lap. Now, Watkins Glen, as I said before, 3.4 miles, extremely high speed. There's not really any heavy braking zone as we chuck it now into the first corner. Definitely could have maximized a little bit more speed. Actually pulls off. Not happy whatsoever with that entry, and is going to call it there, move it back to the pits, and hopefully set a better lap here later on. And Phil, you'd said that Brian Knappen, I mean, I know we were just chatting with him, not putting in really any laps whatsoever here at Watkins Glen. Well, he's third fastest currently.
Yeah, I know. For somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of experience on this track, he's keeping it close to the front end of things. A 45.727 for him, not that far off of Charlie Booth's 44.540. So there's still room to improve, but you know, it's still within reach. 1 seconds. He's going to figure out some places to find some more time. Other people with big improvements right now. Ivan Zolotarev with 9/10 looking to improve. Also, Drew Barakovsky's working upwards towards of about 4/10 on his flying lap.
With a lovely livery to boot as he heads to the line here. What's it going to be? It's a good improvement. P6 all the way to second Also, I want to take a look at this Explosive Bananas livery. Look at that. Some amazing effort being put in here. It's a very explosive banana, I would say.
Very explosive. Other improvements coming in. Brian Canopin got about 2/10, trying to convert that and move up a little bit closer to Friedrich Dahlander in the 777. And again, Drew Burkowski still continuing to chip away on his times.
Brian Canopin. A few more corners left to go into the Sector 3, now into the heel. Heading up the small hill here is a little bit of elevation at Watkins Glen, a deceptive amount. Most of it happening, of course, in the S's. It's about 42 meters, so not quite your Spa-Francorchamps, but not your, well, I guess Valencia either. Valencia has quite a bit of elevation. What am I talking about? Zandvoort. Zandvoort's an extremely flat track.
The thing that I'm looking at right now is interesting tale of the tape in terms of like top speed right now. Lambos seem to be pretty dominant around here, but in the actual speed trap right now, I'm seeing McLaren's actually towards the sharp end of straight line speed, which I'm not used to seeing that from McLaren's.
Really? I feel like since the most recent, I feel like the McLaren has been just dominant in a straight line in pretty much every race I commentate on. I've seen the McLaren. I know we've had a lot of BOP talk in my streams about the McLaren, not quite on the most fair caliber as the rest of the cars. But the other thing that we're seeing up here in the speed traps, Phil, is the Nissan GTR in both second and fourth quickest in the straight line. Now that you love to see.
Yeah, we've got Pietro Petroleum and Reed and Lloyd Davis both fielding the GTR here in the GT3, GT4 Pro-Am series. So mad lads bringing out the old beast for a romp. Vadik Ostadyev currently up 6-7 tenths. Looking for some big improvements. Could get into the low 45s if Vadik can convert that in the 488, by the way.
Oh my goodness, Ostadyev bringing the old Ferrari to the table. I don't even have any car stats on that car. Unfortunate. I think that thing has it's a twin turbo V8. Right? Not like the 296 with a V6? I'm honestly not sure.
That's what the internet's for, so I can look that up while you're continuing to tell the people what the good stuff is on track to watch out for.
So we have Drew Burkowski here in the 5.2-liter Audi-made V10. Coming across the line, fifth quickest there for the Fuchsia competition. We have the GT4s now heading out onto track. The virtual checkered flag has fallen for the GT3 drivers. 10 minutes has elapsed, and their qualifying now coming to an end. Any driver that was previously on a lap, though, will be able to complete it, but any driver that comes across the line now will no longer be able to start one. Stephen Taylor, currently about even with his Delta. A few more corners to negotiate here. Can he make any sort of improvement? He's currently sitting in the top 10. He needs to find about 4-5 tenths to make any gains, and it looks like as he heads to the line here, it's going to be about dead even with his previous no improvement made. Number 11, G. Stevens, practicing his pit entries. You love to see it. Great job from G. Stevens. And that's why you practice your pit entries, everybody, is you enter too quickly. You don't want that happening in a race.
Indeed. Indeed. I believe you're correct on the twin turbo.
Is it a V8 in the 488? Because I know the 296, the Ferrari 296 has a, off of memory, as I check my fact sheet, a 3.0 liter V6 with about 600 brake horsepower.
Yeah, the V8 and the 488, again, twin turbo, 600 brake horsepower, and then 516 foot-pounds of torque, which is a beautiful car, yes, indeed. Fancy.
As we now have the Ginetta out on track. Not quite such a robust engine underneath the bonnet of this car. Here in the Ginetta, you're going to be looking at about a 3.7 liter naturally aspirated V6. So it's actually much larger than I expected when I learned. I thought this thing just had a little 4-cylinder in it, especially with the way it sounds. But as we hop in now on board with Tobias Gable, the first GT4 lap here of the day. Heading now into the first corner, braking around that 100-meter board, chucks it in nicely. Could have used a little bit more curb on the inside there. The GT4s definitely able to use more curb than your GT3s, more reliant on that mechanical grip, less so on that invisible nonsense that is known as downforce. Still, though, flat out through the S's all the way up into top gear now, heading down the back straight towards the inner loop. You're about to hear this thing bang off the rev limiter as we're maxing out 239 kph, sending it into the bus stop. You can see the back end slipping out from underneath, but that's a calculated slip from Tobias Gable. Now into the outer loop, riding the outside camber very nicely, can carry a lot of speed. Now heading into the shoe sector, down the chute. A little early on the throttle there. I feel it could have carried a bit more speed. Heading now into the toe, though. This is where it's all about using that camber again to your advantage. Maximize the minimum speed. Get on that throttle as early as you can. You can see the back end wanting to slip out, but it just doesn't. Now, down towards the heel. Looking for the braking marker around the 120 board there in the GT4. Very interesting. A bit further than I expected. Bit of a handful there in the final sector for the Ginetta, getting it stopped in time down into second gear. As he heads back now, 1 or 2 more corners to go through the penultimate corner now. Wow, lots of slip. Big hesitation of the throttle as well. Definitely going to lose at least half a tenth to maybe even 2/10 there, but still a good lap from Tobias Gable. He hits the wall on the exit, carrying too much speed. Definitely going to be room for improvement here for Tobias, but as he comes to the line, it's going to be first place. Will it be beaten, though? Looks like no. Hoyer stays behind in P18.
Yeah, and Tobias Gable already starting to calculate some purple times as he's getting ready to go into turn 1. Gasolina also kind of same deal. Gasolina goes to the top with a 55.462. Gasolina, another shed car.
Jace right here, the controller king in the GT4 behind the wheel of the AMG. Definitely a contender for pole position here tonight. We'll see what he can manage. I don't know if the AMG is going to be the best car at this track, but you never know.
Jace currently 5th fastest on the timesheets. Looking to improve. I like seeing the AMG in the GT4 category. It makes me feel good when we got a good distribution of makes and manufacturers. I think the only person that's feeling a little bit of the odd man out right now is probably Will Bruner in that 98 Audi.
You know, the Audi is a car from the GT4. I just never could quite get a grip with it. I drove an entire league with the Audi. It's a great car. I personally never could get grips with the gearing, though. It's just got such a short gearbox in terms of how the gearing is very short. To upshift extremely quick, and the downshifts, well, it's very easy to blow your engine up just because of the rev range as well and locking up the wheel. There's a lot of things about it. I just didn't like it, personally. I never could get a grip with it. But very, very good car, and an awesome car as well. Once again, Audi, of course, with a naturally aspirated V10. Just a dreamy car.
Yeah, the R8 definitely fits in one of those interesting categories for me because it always felt kind of like Audi was trying to do something kind of like a Lambo, but it just never came off visually for me like a Lambo does, because, Lambos,
Yeah, it's a Lambo.
Like Lambos.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
pretty hard to... Whoa! Will Brunner there. That is most certainly an invalid lap, making his own way on track, taking a joker lap here in the qualifying. Definitely not quite where you want to be placing the car, and especially now with some traffic behind, this could be a bit spicy towards the end of qualifying.
Yeah, they got 3 minutes. What is that? 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Okay.
At the right clock.
Two people decide to bail out of a lap. Sure, why not? They should have time to get back out for another lap, though.
Yeah. 3 minutes. 3 minutes and change. Yeah, you got it. You got time.
Also, just wanted to say big welcome to everyone in chat. Just a quick few people that are here. We got Glen, welcome. Brandon Pfeiffer, Rob2K, Huff, welcome. Retro Coffin, Rick Pixel. And we also have Assbox. Welcome. Mike Patrick joining us. We love to see it. Gasolina was in chat earlier. Turner as well. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all having a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. It's the afternoon here in New York. Because, of course, that's where we are.
Gasolina is looking to extend right now. That 55.422 doesn't seem like enough for him. He's still riding right on the line with another purple lap in the bank. We've got 3/10 for Martin Hoyer in the number 9 and 2/10 for Tobias Gable in the 188. So it's still really intense trying to get the most out of this qualifying session.
And Gaz hasn't really been able to improve since his first lap. This time, though, looking strong. Or actually, his previous lap was his quickest lap, so I take that back.
Just barely, though. Just barely.
Okay. Oh, and that's the lap. Gaz Gasolina will have one more attempt. No, actually have 2 more attempts. Okay. So Gaz with a bit of margins here to have, and it's going to be close, but he will come across the line with enough time. Now, Tobias Gable to pole position, 1:55.0, almost into the 54s. That's what's needed here to get pole.
Yeah, 54s for pole position would be wild in the GT4 category, but that 55.0 does make a statement and probably puts a little bit of pressure on Gasolina.
As they have 4/10 to make up, does Gaz, and that's going to be a tricky one to find, as it's been a slow improvement for Gaz, seemingly a 10th here, a 10th there, but not really making a huge gain in the lap that he's looking for. Tobias Gable also on an improvement, so is Martin Hoyer. Martin Hoyer, though, needs 6/10 to make that pole position now. It's seeming very difficult there for the Porsche driver.
Big improvement from Sebastian Handler last lap, pulling himself out of the top 10 and up into P5 in the KTM. It's interesting to see a lawnmower out on track like that, especially one that's that expensive.
Yeah, in currently, like you said, behind the wheel of Handler here, with a lovely livery to boot, the Team Cake, the Austrian driver.
I wonder if the KTM designer was like, you know what I want on a car? Angles.
KTM is Austrian, isn't it?
I'm just gonna put angles on the car. Just nothing but angles.
Can't be round, it can't be straight, it has to be slightly askew, and that is basically the summary of the KTM. But am I right in that? Is the KTM an Austrian make?
Let's go find out.
I don't know why that sounds right to me, but I feel like is Sebastian here driving his home team? I think that might be it. Yes, says Tobias Gable in chat. I have no idea how I knew that. I'm going to be completely honest.
Because you're smart.
Sure, we'll go with that one.
Because you're smart. You
Definitely.
Got this wealth of knowledge that you can dive into, even when you're kind of like not even really like aware of what the fact means or anything like that. You just pull it out and throw it out there.
Handler, though, on a good lap. Oh, that's a corner that drivers have really been struggling with, trying to push that penultimate corner to the limit. The KTM, though, a few more corners to negotiate. Currently sitting in P7. What is it going to be as we head to the line? There is going to be an improvement for Handler. Heads to P5 overall. Improves 2 positions there. Jace Wright, not quite putting in the lap that he was looking for, but 25 thousandths off the time of Skinner in front.
What a set of margins, though, here at the front of the field. Tobias Gable with that 55.0 really making a statement, but then you got Gasolina and Hoyer. That's barely 2/10 between them.
Also, Dom, welcome. Welcome, Blue, in chat. Vadik as well joining us. How did you qualify with P4 with the default aggressive setup in the old Ferrari? Talent, Vadik, talent. Don't bin it.
Yeah, that's how you do it, man.
Don't get cocky, kid.
That's how you do it. Just send it, bro.
Are we using the LFM BOP? I think we are, right?
We are, sir.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason why the McLaren being at the top of the speed trap is kind of a shocker for me. I'm like,
I forgot about that. Holy, speeding into the pits, Tobias Gable, like probably 40 kph over the speed limit. Now, this is, once again, everyone, I'm going to say it once, I'll say it twice, and I'll say it again. Practice your pit entries, everybody. 5 pit entries per race. Make sure you get it down. You can not only gain seconds in the pit lane, you can lose up to a stop-go 30, which here at Watkins Glen, you're looking at about 62 seconds stationary.
Yeah, it's It's a big deal to get those pit stops right. You definitely want to when it comes to the excitement, to the red meat, to the red meated meal of like sports car racing and stuff like that. You need to eat a few of your vegetables and do your pit stop practice, right? So definitely need to do the essentials.
And Huff there, I bet it was intentional. Even if it wasn't intentional, it gives me a point to talk about practicing your pit entries. So
Yeah,
I'll take anything I can get there.
As long as you're going to provide us the facts, we're going to use them.
I guess while we wait for the session to change over, we'll head back to the booth. Yeah. Why not? Welcome back, everybody. Happy holidays, of course. As we wait for the session to change on over, we'll get a little beats in the background. Actually, I probably don't want that beats. I don't have any beats to put in the background. Or I do. Yes, I do.
So 33 drivers getting set up for 1 hour race around Watkins Glen International. We do have 2 tire sets available for the drivers on the weekend, but there is a potential for rain in the server settings. Right now, at least from the on-track action, or from the on-track weather, it looks like everything's just partly cloudy. 27 degrees ambient and 27 degrees on track. Tire life. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
No. You go ahead. I'll touch on it.
I was going to say, tire life was a big deal in the IMSA race with Box3 Motorsports, but that also different sim entirely with iRacing. But I'm also kind of curious to see what tire life is going to be like around here. Temperatures are not that extreme, so I don't think tire deg is going to be that big of an issue.
Yeah, we'll see though. I mean, with the high-speed nature, as we do head on into the session here, we have about a minute left to go. We will pop back into the game. And I have a 20-foot Christmas tree in the background. Yeah, you don't? You tell me you don't have a 20-foot Christmas tree and a blurred dog in the background? Regardless, as we have it here, we have a grid full of drivers that are going to be eager to get underway. And as we start off here, we're going to get in and meet all of them. Starting off here in P1, it is going to be the Kiwi driver. It's Charlie Booth. Number 46 Lamborghini Evo 2 bringing up pole position. Up next, of course, on the front row is going to be Ivan Zolotarev in the explosive Bananas 555 Lamborghini. An incredible livery at that. We have Fredrik Dahlander in P3, the 777, with Vadik Konstantiev company in 4th. Drew Burakovsky, 5th quickest, with Brian Knappen next to him in row 3, bringing up the back of P6. Retro Coffin, going to be 7th quickest, with Pietro Ceche in P8. Rick Pixel, 9th quickest, with Steve Taylor in P10, rounding out our top 10 there. For the number 7 driver, with Lloyd Davies in P11. Jim McGovern, 12th quickest, with Mark Oliveira in P13. Pierre Petroleum in P14, with Terry Pritchard in P15 in the Ferrari 296, and with Jakob Kennedy, company behind, in 16th. Bringing up the front of the GT4 field, it is going to be Tobias Gable with Gaz Gasolina Company on the front, and Martin Hoyer, the Czech driver, in P3. We have Nunzio Lanza in P4, with Handler in the KTM in 5th. Jarrett Skinner going to be 6th quickest in the Rat Race motor circuit. Or Motor Colts, number 96, with Jace Wright behind him in P7. Brandon Pfeiffer going to be 8th quickest in the Ginetta, with Miko Lapala in P25. Anthony Anderson in P26 overall. P10 in class, we have Glen Ditting in P11, with Michael Kaspuski in P12. Will Brunner, 13th quickest, with Brandon Foss in 14th. We have Andrew Vermiglio in P31 in the Camaro, with Rob Kieser in P32, P16 overall. And bringing up the back of the grid here, it is going to be G. Stevens in the Lamborghini. So a grid full of GT4 cars here for the Fuchsia competition car to make it through at the start. But as we head into it here, we have 3.4 miles of an outlap here at Watkins Glen, and Charlie Booth leading us away.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get this race underway. I love Watkins Glen. It's a classic American road track. Falls into the same category as like your Road Atlantas, your Road Americas, your Sonomas. I really like it when you don't have these massive runoff areas, with the exception of the 90 at turn 1. The 90 is pretty iconic of a turn, I think, and I'm glad it does have that runoff area because you really get to see people be kind of elbows out a little bit right at the start of the lap. But by and large, the rest of Watkins Glen, the only thing you've got waiting for you on the edge of the track is probably kitty litter or grass. And if you don't get it stopped fast enough, an Armco barrier. So again, I think it's just a real, it's a brutal track. It punishes mistakes, and it really rewards precision. So good thing we've got these drivers here to put on a show for us, and we're going to get to see what precise driving looks like.
And another thing to keep in mind, of course, is with stationary objects, those barriers at the end of that straight heading into the chicane, or the bus stop, it's those barriers don't move. They look like they would, but they are about as solid as a tree, a solid oak tree. It's been standing for hundreds of years, but yeah, definitely see some cars head into those at quite high speeds, and that can be pretty devastating, especially if you have a direct drive wheel. It's always something to pay in mind as these drivers, physical injury is still a risk. I know it's significantly negated, the risk of death pretty much mostly null and void, knock on wood, let's not, jinx that one. But you can be, we've had in the past, sprained wrists, different injuries, of course, being from these direct drive wheels, having your force feedback cranked up, and that's just a testament to the technology that we have nowadays as well.
Yeah, it's exciting with the tools that the drivers get to use. It's also exciting to see the tools that the drivers can still perform with, even if they're not operating with those kind of like expert tools or those kind of like elite level tools. Because you got Jace Wright, joystick warrior in the 24, rocking a gamepad. That's pretty dope. So I'm really interested to see how Jace gets on in this battle, and we are side by side as we get ready to go into the final corner, sir.
Yes, indeed. Charlie Booth going to be leading us away now, heading into the final corner. That is going to be turn 11 here at Watkins Glen. 6 to the left, 5 to the right. Charlie Booth leading us away here on pole position. Ivan Zolotarov in P2. I'm Mike Noss. Joined with me in the booth is Phil Milby as we get ready to go bowling here at Watkins Glen. The green flag getting ready. You can see Vadik there with poised for an aggressive position in that 488. We're going to be creeping up to the line now as we get ready to go. Green, green, green now, heading down to the first corner, the 90, and it's going to be an amazing start for Charlie Booth, immediately taking the lead. That's going to be Frederick Dollander, though, down the inside of Ivan Zolotarov into the first corner, not able to make anything stick. We're zooming side by side with Vadik Odstitsiev, who is going to be trying to take the advantage into the S, as Brian Knappen behind in 5th, side by side with Drew Burakovsky, the Fusha competition. They are going to go very tightly now into the first sector, nip and tuck, though, as they come out the exit.
I'm looking through the field right now, just trying to see. We do have a 139 car that's stationary at the middle part of the S's. It does look like, for the most part, people were able to avoid it. But Reed and Lloyd Davies in the Team Cake Nissan GTR has quite a bit of damage right at the start, and that's kind of catching him out. So he's going to have to go and probably get those repairs underway almost immediately.
Gaz Gazulina here in the GT4 field has managed to keep the lead with Tobias Gable behind in 2nd and Martin Hoyer, the Czech driver, in 3rd. We have up front, though, Vadik Odstitsiev pressuring now onto Ivan Zolotarov, has made up the position onto Frederick Dollander into 3rd position. Trying to make that podium, though, even into a race win tonight. The 488 looking very strong as you see the Porsche tucking off to the outside there, or the inside rather, as we head into the heel. Looking strong, though, from Zolotarov, but looking even stronger from Charlie Booth, as it's a bit of a walk away here at the start for the Kiwi driver.
Yeah, looking through the GT4 field right now, looks like Gasolina with a good start on Tobias Gable. And then we got Martin Hoyer ahead of Nunzio Lanza, Jace Wright in 5th still, and the GT3 of G. Stevens moving through the GT4 field as we speak. So there's still going to be a little bit of early traffic for the GT4s to contend with.
As a bit further up, Frederick Dollander and Vadik Odstitsiev still trying to negotiate their position here. Dollander wants that position back, no doubt. Heading through the S's, though, it's going to be a tricky one to make happen. Overtaking opportunities are low here, and that Porsche, not quite known for its straight line speed. As we take a look, though, yes, not quite. I mean, actually, is going to be quicker, though, in a straight line than Vidic, but actually tied in a straight line with Vidic.
So G. Stevens has moved through the GT4 field now, so now it should just be GT4s for a little while, at least until the GT3 field comes back around to lap them. But Tobias Gable really starting to try to put some pressure on Gasoline already, and I just saw Trey Pritchard in the circuit Stormers Ferrari going off track.
Also have a Nissan GTR with a bit of a pirouette. Let's take a look at what happened here for Pierre. It's Petroleum coming through the inner loop. Wow! Back end there, lifting up for that Nissan GTR. Needs to be cautious there and hold his brakes in the future. That was very dangerous to resume like that, but I mean, I understand the eagerness to get back on track, but definitely, luckily, nobody getting collected in that one.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of very, very close scares in the GT3 and GT4 field so far at the start of this race, but by and large, the start of the lap looked relatively clean. The race leader, Charlie Booth, is just blasting away. Ivan Zolotarev is kind of corking the bottle right now, and just not really seeing anyone make a move yet.
As we're heading down the start-finish straight, Vidic all over the place. The inside line, though, covered by Zolotarev. Vidic trying anything he can, is going to carry the speed around the outside. This is going to turn to the inside now if he can keep it alongside for long enough, and it looks like he can. In fact, he makes it all the way around the outside. Vidic muscling through. A lovely pass there for the Ferrari 488, a car you don't see too much. Vidic, though, champion in it tonight. Great job there. Behind, we have another opportunity arising for Frederick Dollander into the inner loop. He sends it, but that's a... Oh, man, you definitely need to think twice about that, but that unsettled Zolotarev. Zolotarev is off, and that's going to have contact immediately into Dollander. It's 3 wide. What has happened to Brian Knappen? He's been caught up in this collision as well. As we head on to the outer loop, though, everyone managing to rejoin. We definitely need a re-look at that.
It looks like, from the perspective of Brian Knappen, that when Dollander was trying to dodge the explosive banana Lamborghini, that there was a little bit of a touch on Knappen and kind of started to unsettle the car and made the back end step around.
That was, yep, fully right there. Okay, so Brian Knappen did make a touch there onto the rear end. We saw Zolotarev clip the inside. Unfortunately, Brian Knappen kind of resigned to his own fate after that. Very unfortunate for the driver, who was in quite a good position, but now plummeted all the way down pretty much to the back of the GT3 field. Going to be needing to make that up. And a hit with it. Oh, that's a lot of damage as well onto the front end. That was a big hit to that Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Brian. He, through no fault of his own, just wrong place, wrong time, wrong situation. Tobias Gable does find his way around Gasolina in the lead of the GT4 field now, 3/10 between them. And Martin Hoyer is still in front of Nunzio Lanza with Jace Wright in 5th.
As Jakob Kennedy behind as well. We take a look at the GT4 field here. Gasolina has been overtaken. Apologies, I did miss that. My ACC TV is... you know, you gotta love live TV. Yeah, you gotta love live TV, everybody. That's all I gotta say there. We're working on it, but... Gasolina did lose the position. Tobias Gable now leading this race. I was expecting those two to work together for a bit longer than they have, though they have pulled about a 2-second gap to Martin Hoyer behind. Martin kind of in a world of his own with Nunzio Lanza behind a second and a half. Definitely need some work there from Nunzio to put in the laps, as last lap was almost an entire second slower than Martin. I'm not sure if that was just an off lap or if that is the true pace there of the Porsche Motorsports here from the Czech driver.
I think it was mostly an off lap from what I can tell from the data. One fight to pay attention to right now. Anthony Anderson is trying to hold off Brandon Pfeiffer in the 22 Ginetta. They're going through the inner loop right now. And then we've also got Mikko Lepala in the background. The Camaro of Anthony Anderson goes up on 2 wheels on the exit of the inner loop. Manages to keep it from wrecking. And Brandon Pfeiffer is going to find his way around.
Tight margins. Anthony Anderson there dancing with death as well as he rejoins the track, giving a nice squeeze there to Lepala. Lepala onto the inside, thinks better of it. The Swedish driver. Trying to capitalize on any mistake here from the young Anthony Anderson in front.
So the field has kind of gone through a bit of a shuffle after the start of the race in GT3. Charlie Booth in the lead to the tune of 6.5 seconds with Vadik Ostadyev in the 55, 488. And then we got Pietro Cheque in the 167 McLaren, currently holding up Retro Coffin, Friedrich Dahlander, and Drew Burakovsky.
And that is for position... There it is, position 6, position 3. Okay, oh man, that's a huge fight going on here.
It's a huge fight. A bunch of cars close together with Pietro being third in GT3 right now and kind of holding the field up with 3 cars within at least a second of him.
Also, I just caught this in chat, but Huff clarifying on my statement earlier that Box 3 is not responsible for any injuries sustained in a Box 3 race. So, just got to clarify there, of course, for any injuries sustained. But also, welcome Gosu Motorsports. Hope everyone is enjoying. We have 51 minutes, almost 10 minutes into this hour-long race here. 1 mandatory pit stop for these drivers as well.
Yeah, with 2 tire sets on offer. Didn't see a whole lot of people out on track for the free practice bit. That's been kind of the story through most of the sessions. People are saving those tires for qualifying and then trying to make sure that they've got at least like 1 clean set for the race with at least 1 with minimal scuff from the qualifying. If we do end up with rain in the forecast, which right now from a weather perspective, it doesn't look like that's in the cards. If we do end up with wet weather, the two tire set limit goes out the window.
And I'm not sure how to... I apologize. I know I say it different every time. It's spelled weird. We're side by side, though. Oh, my goodness. We're looking at the wrong monitor. Drew Burakovsky slips by Frederick Dahlander. Dahlander, though, not going to give it up just yet.
No, he's not.
They're heading down the back straight now. Dahlander all over the back. He's going to be needing... Oh, that's not going to happen. Yeah, thinks better of it. Would have been a very ambitious move if he went for it. And Dahlander, I think he saw that one. Pretty much the writing was on the walls that I think Drew Burakovsky has the pace there to hold that position. Up next for Drew is going to be Retro Coffin. Is it not Gosu, though? I'm just... You know, it's... I
don't think it's necessarily the pronunciation. It's the fact that you say it differently.
It's like, Guessu. It's Guessu. Oh, it's not Gosu. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I don't think Alex Martin is going to be that offended, so...
I just know that there's, you know, like, Team Gosu and what... I mean, you know, it's the... I don't know. You know what I mean.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A couple fights we're paying attention to on track. I'm still following Anthony Anderson, who's still shedding places. Mikko Lepala in the Porsche Cayman, currently trying to find his way around as they go into the inner loop right now, but thought better of it.
He is getting a bit impatient potentially here. There's some damage on the right-hand side panel there of Anthony Anderson, as well as on the rear end. Some pretty big damage as well. That's going to be affecting the straight line speed of that Camaro. They head on in towards the shoe now. You can see the alternate line being taken for Mikko, but he just isn't able to find any sort of opportunity whatsoever. Trying to go late on the brakes at some point, but not really anywhere in this sector that's going to be too doable. Whoa, a little too late on the brakes there, in fact, for Mikko. That's going to compromise at least a second there.
Yeah, he's going to have to find his way back on track and get back into it and try and catch Anthony Anderson right now, who's got a damaged Camaro and is struggling to maintain pace with the mid-pack in GT4. Up at the front, you might want to tune in. Gasolina Tobias Gable's starting to heat up. Gaz is putting the pressure on him.
Also there we saw Mark Oliveira. Well, we didn't quite see, but Mark Oliveira did manage to get by Nunzio Lanza.
So right before we switched over to the shot, ooh.
Big hit on the wall there.
That is. That's definitely going to upset the car just a little bit, but he's keeping pace with Tobias Gable. He did pressure Tobias Gable into a mistake up at the top of the hill left-hander before the penultimate corner, but Tobias Gable able to knuckle back down and stay out in front of Gasolina as they start another lap around Watkins Glen International Raceway.
The Ginetta here struggling on the back straight. It is actually, this is about the perfect length for the Ginetta. I'm not sure how long the straight is here, but as they head on it, you're about to basically bang off the rev limiter right as you hit the end of it, and that is very ideal for the Ginetta, for maybe why we're seeing such good performance out of it here tonight.
If I had to guess, I'd call it half a Conrod. Like, because in terms of straight line, like Conrod straight is like the most indicative of, oh, let's see if we can make the Ginetta engine explode. But the back stretch here at Watkins Glen seems to be about like half that distance, and that seems to be just the right amount of space for the Ginetta to really stretch its legs, but not torture the engine too much.
Also, little gift sub being handed out there in the chat. We have Mr. Keefe 131 gifting a sub to Williams Esports. Welcome, Williams Esports.
Fantastic.
Of course, as we have out here, this is the Box3 GT3 GT4 Pro-Ams Championship. We're in round 3 here. I'm Mike Noss in the booth. Joining me, of course, is Phil Milwee. We're on lap number 7 here at Watkins Glen. Some side-by-side action as well being developed from Drew Burakovsky. Up at the front for a podium position, Retro Coffin under massive pressure, and that's pretty much putting Frederick Dollander here into the battle as well, with Rick Pixel just behind. He wasn't too happy with his qualifying. We'll see what he can manage here, now coming up into one of the best positions I think he can be on this track right now.
So you're going to see the broadcasting is about to update. The reason why this field is so close right here is because Pietro Cecche in the 167 McLaren, the race cheap, into the wall on the exit of the bus stop, gets a little unsettled on the exit of the inner loop and goes into the Armco, and the field starts moving around him with some good avoidance, but Pietro now down in 10th position.
And anything can happen at any point in time here. We have the Swedish driver of Dollander. I think I messed up one of the pronunciation, or one of the, I think I said someone was Swedish earlier, and I think they were Finnish, now that I'm thinking about it. Which, apologies if I did do that. I think I was looking at the wrong flag, but we're all human here, unfortunately.
Gasolina's got his hazards on right now. Which, I mean, in the shed car, that could just be like, it's normal start procedure. Flip on hazard lights.
Side by side there, that is going to be Dollander holding the position off for now. Rick Pixel.
Oh, man. The back end was so unsettled.
Oh, Retrocoff. Oh, my goodness. There's back markers now involved, of course. There's GT3s and GT4s. We're finally catching up to them. And that is putting a real spicy one into this equation. Drew Burakovsky has made the position up over Retro Coffin. Frederick Dollander behind. Not sure what he's going to be able to do.
So the Fuchsia Esports Lamborghini around the Coral Cove Porsche of Retro Coffin. And we got some more GT4 traffic up ahead as they're getting ready to go.
Whoa, way late on the brakes for Retro Coffin. That's going to send him off the track, no doubt. He's going to have to rejoin in front of that GT4. That's going to put a hindrance onto that Camaro. That Camaro has no idea where to go. I feel so bad for whoever that was. That was a terrifying scenario to be in. Oh, no, we also have a collision, it looks like, between Ivan and Jim. No, they're on two separate parts of the tracks. Oh, no, and Petroleum now getting caught up with Ivan's crash. Oh, my goodness. It seems we have a bit of chaos here on lap number 8.
Oh, the GT3 rejoins right in front of an... Oh, man, this is just getting so scary.
Okay, so Ivan here is in the worst possible position. Tries to set himself to the outside. He does so, but he clips, or the GTR clips him in the process of doing so. It might be put on... I'm pretty sure that's going to be put on to Ivan and his fault there. Very unfortunate, especially for somebody who was so high up in the points standings at the start of this race, starting in P2. In terms of the points, that's something I don't think I've checked on just yet. Let's take a look here at the standings and see how that is going to affect Ivan in his charge. As Ivan sitting quite far down in the championship, so it's not going to bother him that much. Jan Gray currently leading at 40 points with Frederick Dollander in second and Brian Knappen in third. We don't see Jan Gray out there this time, though, do we?
No, I don't see John Gray out in the track, or Jan Gray. John, whichever name he goes by this week.
Right.
not out on track with us for this round, so probably going to get a little bit of a demotion in the points. But again, I mean, Gray is just so strong, so I'm not really worried about it. He's been driving the Audi. He's been doing really well with big brains, so I'm just interested to see what he can do when he gets back for round 4.
And is there a drop round in this championship? It's actually something I'm unfamiliar with.
There was a little bit of confusion on that, a little bit of a setup page problem with the SimGrid page, but I do not believe there is a drop down for 4 rounds.
Okay.
Charlie Booth in the lead to the tune of 12 seconds now, sir.
Sheesh. In
Charlie
fact,
Booth currently on Easy Street.
as we look here, these are the leaders of the GT4. Oh, wait a second. What am I talking about? Tobias Gable, Gaz Gasolina, a bit further up the road.
There is a mixture of GT3, GT4 going on right now, and it's kind of creating a little bit of confusion in the overall. So take that with a grain of salt. Tobias Gable has started to pull a gap on Gasolina. It's now up to 2.273, but they still have mandatory pit stops to go through. And actually, Miko Lepala diving in the pits right now to serve the mandatory, as is Brian Canopin, who served his mandatory pit stop as part of that initial accident that took him out at the start of the race.
Yeah, I don't think that was a scheduled pit stop for Brian Canapin, unfortunately.
That is true. That is fair. Unscheduled maintenance, but at the same time, too, Brian Canopin still in it. And let's see what he can do in terms of a recovery drive here at Watkins.
A lot of work to do. Has to get through the GT4 field. I'm currently stuck behind a lawnmower. Is going to make short work of that. But still a challenge nonetheless for our current P3 stander in the championship. Now, of course, it is to be mentioned, Frederick Dollander currently sitting very well in terms of the points paying positions. He's up in P6. We're looking at him right now. Much better than Brian Canapin. However, it's going to even them out a bit, and we'll see heading into the finals, I think a very tight race, as they're actually currently even on points, so I take that back. It's going to put Dollander quite in the lead.
I really enjoy this this short series that we're doing right here, because it really does put pressure on making the races.
Oh my goodness, that was... Wait a second, who was that? Was that Jace or Vadik? That's Drew Burakovsky, the other Fuchsia competition. What has happened to Drew? Drew was sitting up in P4.
Drew was setting up in P4. Now it says he's up in P3 on the relatives, but it hasn't updated yet. But he does have a bit of front-end damage on the Fuchsia competition esports.
Seems like he's dropped down to P6 as of this moment. Rejoins with heavy damage on the front end of that Lamborghini. 40 minutes remain in this race. Drew might have to be coming in for his pit stop soon. This, though, is a heated battle. Jarrett Skinner trying to make advantage here as we have a bit of a kerfuffle going on. I think that's a back marker.
Oh, no. Crow's in the wall on the exit of turn 1.
It's James. Side by side as we head through the inner loop of the GT4s. Lots of curb being taken for the AMG. There's a bump from the Jannetta onto the Camaro. The Camaro, though, solid as ever, is going to wash wide as a result. That's going to allow Brandon Pfeiffer down the inside. There's a Porsche GT3, though, making moves. Contact sends him off. I think he clipped through the Porsche. I have no idea how there was not a massive collision there. That is incredible. Flash of the headlights. Oh, and a big elbows out maneuver there. Jarrett Skinner sending Brandon Pfeiffer straight into the Aramco. Now Brandon Pfeiffer rejoins side by side with Anthony Anderson. He should be able to hold this off, but what a chaotic bit of track here that we're all battling for.
So what's interesting is you've got a really tight battle in GT3 and GT4, all kind of converging in the middle sector of Watkins Glen. And it's a tight track. Again, we were talking about this before the stream. This is an old school American road track where the off tracks here are very punishing in terms of losing time, especially if you go into the Armco barrier, which we've seen more than once already.
Barrier never far away here at Watkins Glen, and a few drivers have already made a nice little brushing of it. That was a McLaren running extremely wide. I'm seeing pretty much all invalid laps for the GT3s, so that's no surprise. Trying to find some way around these GT4s is a bit of a struggle here. As you were saying, especially at this old track, founded back in 1956. It's been pretty much unchanged since 1971 as well. So a very old track, old-fashioned pit lane. You need to be very careful as Pietro Cecce is off, and it looks like there was contact that put him there. What has resulted here?
That was a bit, that looked a little divey. Trying to find his way around Nunzio Lanza in the Ascot Hornet Aston Martin. And contact with the 167 already suffered a significant amount of damage this race so far. So Pietro's going to have to try and get the car going in the right direction. And unfortunately, he's past the pit box, so he's going to have to go do another lap if he wants to come in and get some repairs on the 167.
Like he's making his own sort of lap out there. Pietro Cecce needs to kind of get his head down here and cool off a little bit, as I think there's a bit of a red mist forming in the eyes there of the number 167. As he is trying to make an overtake. That is going to be Taylor getting by. That's a front marker, and that is, yeah, a position overtake. Anthony Anderson off the... What has happened to Ant?
Ant just getting into the grass, and then the back end steps out, and that's basically all you need to make the car end around.
Was there contact? Let's see.
I don't think there was.
No,
I think it was
not.
just the... Yeah, it was just the wheels going off in the grass. And, yeah, that's it. That's all you need to have happen. Drew Burakovsky managed to dodge it. Then I think Ando got the car facing the correct direction, and away he goes.
Oh, my goodness. The McLaren there. That's P7.
Oh, no.
That's Taylor. Taylor is around and into the side of another McLaren. Pietro Cecce not really responding, though. Takes the contact pretty solid there. But Terry Pritchard also having an incident. Seems like as we've gotten about halfway through this race, Phil, we have some drivers really struggling.
We have some drivers really struggling. We got some drivers that are really kind of like driving with their heart and less with their head right now, at least from my observation. So we're going to see Pietro's going to move around Jace Wright, and the Aston Martin that he came door to door with in turn one, lingering in front as they get ready to go into the S's right now, and that is Vinzio Alonso.
And also Huff saying that they're homies. Nah, man, we got to create drama here.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're journalists, Huff. This is all verifiable. This is all first source information. You're seeing it right now, folks. I mean, it's live. You can't argue with it. We're just interpreting what we see.
Yeah, we're just talking about what we're seeing, exactly. So
clearly these two hate each other.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can see that. Can you? No, I'm just kidding. Again, it was just I think an incident where Pietro was kind of diving a little bit on the inside, and it got a little bit dramatic, but Pietro now kind of on the recovery, and everything seems to be moving on the up and up.
We also have Sebastian Handler in P27. This is a battle with Kasabuski in P26. The KTM back end steps out. What a save, and another one on top of it. Oh my goodness. We're going to go back on board and watch the brown pants moment that's about to occur here. So heading now through the bus stop. It looks nice and tidy. We're approaching that back end a bit quicker than we would have liked. Outside line now being chosen. A lift off the throttle and a downshift. I think that locked the axle up, and it forced us to milk the cow in order to save that, and a lovely save at that for Sebastian.
Yeah, KTM's trying to go to its natural habitat of doing endurance racing on non-tarmac. So really want to try to get over there towards the grass. And it does look like and the thing is, the 538 was struggling last round as well. It does look like the KTM is a bit of a handful of a car this series. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just not a particularly quick car, to be completely as well. I mean, we'll just put it as it is. It's a car that's not the greatest in the straight line. It's not the greatest in the corners. It's not the greatest at acceleration. It's just really, it's not the greatest.
I hear it's pretty good in the pits. Sorry. Anyway, I have it on good authority that there's a bit of a legend of sim racing sorts in the form of Giuseppe Costablanca that would have words with you over the KTM there.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not any issues there.
Looking right now, man, Charlie Booth has stretched that lead to 22.6 seconds on Retro Coffin, who's moved up into second place with 14 laps in the books here at Watkins Glen International Raceway.
I think that's because Vadik pit. Vadik has made his one mandatory stop for the night. He's gone for the undercut.
Yeah. The undercut could be big around here. In fact, while we're doing that, I'm going to get the track map pulled up so that I can follow along with the pit stops as they start to come in.
Of course, if you guys do want to take a look at all of the times, I think !pit wall, hopefully. Yes, you can find a link there to our pit wall where you can watch the race unfold with data before your eyes. Very awesome service offered. We see the Nissan GTR there, a car that you don't often see negotiating through a AMG GT4. Rick Pixel allotting to make his stop this lap in the Monster. Drew Burakovsky also in with big damage on the front. I think a few other drivers also opting for their pit stop as we approach that halfway point. The undercut starting. We'll see if that is going to work out here. We'll see if they take new tires. So far, I'm looking at the pit timings. I see that Vadik, I think, definitely took new tires. G. Stevens did not take new tires, though. So we have a bit of a split strategy going on here. We'll see what the optimum one is come the end of this race.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Vadik with 113, 715 for the full pit lane travel. Waiting to see what Rick Pixel comes out with. He's currently about to hit the minute mark in the pit box.
Should be returning momentarily. Shift to the car as we head back out. 31 seconds or 32 seconds stationary. A new set of boots being strapped on there for the Monster Porsche 992.
Yeah, so 110.742 for Rick Pixel for the full lane, for the full pit lane travel. And he's back out on track with scheduled maintenance done and dusted on that car. And we are getting close to the 31-minute mark, sir.
Jim McGovern here on the back end of the McLaren in front. Some Ferrari 296 versus McLaren Evo 2, but big damage on the front end of Taylor. We saw him facing the wrong way earlier and down in P7. Currently a little out of position due to the pit stops, or a bit higher up than you would expect, as they both try to negotiate the GT4 Ginetta, and neither of them successfully managing to do so. A bit dicey, and the McLaren getting caught in a bit of a poor spot, the Ferrari ducking to the alternate side. I don't know what to make of this, Phil.
Right now, it is people just shucking around trying to find their way around. Oh, man.
What? And somehow we see that Jim McGovern has taken the advantage and taken the position. Steve Taylor says that's enough. I'm coming into the pits, and we almost have contact between a GT3 to GT4 heading into pit lane. That was a bit chaotic.
That was a bit chaotic. I think it was just people just kind of compressing down as they're getting ready to go into the pit stops. The pit entry for Watkins Glen is pretty awkward, with it being effectively on the apex of the exiting corner for the final corner. Real quick on pit stop timings, we got a 1 minute 15.494 for the full pit lane travel for Tobias Gable. I've got my eyeballs on Jace Wright and Gasolina to see what they're gonna pull out of their hat as far as a pit stop time.
Be interesting to see when Charlie Booth decides to pull the trigger as well and come into the pits. His last lap, 146.4, that is over a second and a half slower than his previous. I suspect that tire wear is a bit of a factor here tonight. We're seeing a 28-degree track temp, definitely not overly hot, but it's not cold either. It's a very warm track out there, so it's going to be quite abrasive. You're going to be laying a lot more rubber down than you would be expecting maybe coming into it. Hopefully these drivers had enough practice. Looks like Charlie has put in quite a bit of practice for this race, though.
Yep. And it does seem like in the 1.9 era that mismanagement of your tires and abusing them can really punish you in terms of creating some really, really slow lap times. 1 minute 10.853 for Gasoline when he falls off the jacks.
It looks like
on the exit.
It looks like everyone opting for tires minus G. Steven. This is the only driver that I've really seen so far that has opted just to go for the straight up fuel the car up and go.
Yeah, we'll see how that pays out as the race progresses, because he's got 29 minutes to hang on to these to the set of shoes he's got on.
Now they should be able to hang on, but whether or not the grip is going to be there required to hold on to the likes of his teammate of Drew Burakovsky, and at the end we'll see, though he does have about a 30-second gap to Drew. So we'll see. G. Steven, I think his hope of going forwards has pretty much stopped. In fact, if there was that much of a gap to Drew Burakovsky, I don't see why he didn't take tires. That seems like a bit of a strategy blunder there from Steven.
Yeah, it could be a big problem for him. We're going to wait and see how it pans out. I'm looking right now because we've got a little bit of problems with this, with Stephen Taylor's McLaren Shadow Project number 7. Did have a bit of a moment on the exit of the inner loop, but he seems to be going in the right direction, and the car seems to be fine. I did want to report real quick about the GT4 field. With the pit stop time gains that Gasolina had, he was able to come out right on the gearbox of Tobias Gable So the race between those two for the top spot on GT4 is going to continue as expected, with only Hoyer in the number 9 Porsche and Nunzio Lanza to pit in front of, well, actually also Anthony Anderson. Also, real quick, stop go 30 for Pierre Petroleum in the 350 Nissan. I think that's going to be for a pit lane speed infraction.
That would be my assumption there, and unfortunately, he's going to be... Actually, can... this is a bit of a battle going on here between Sebastian Handler still and Will Brenner. I think these two have been together for a long while now. And out of the pit stop, both of these guys are good to go to the end. And, oh, it's late on the brakes to the KTM into the final corner. The Audi, taking a much tighter line, is going to be able to carry that speed much, much better. Heading down the start-finish straight, the Austrian driver... This lap a 2-minute because he was just out of the pits.
So real quick, go ahead, sir.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say average lap time for Charlie Booth, just for everyone at home, 45.971. So definitely slower than what we were seeing in some of the qualifying times. But his nearest competition was Retro Coffin right before the pit stops, a 147.0. So Charlie Booth, a little slower than qualifying, but definitely enough pace in hand if he keeps this average up that he's just going to walk away.
And Charlie absolutely flying this lap. Hasn't put a foot wrong just yet, knock on wood. Hopefully we don't commentators curse him, but still, great job. We have Pietro Cecce battling with Jakob Kennedy. Both of these drivers out of the pits. Down the inside goes Cecce. Looks like he is firmly ahead. Jakob Kennedy on an absolutely atrocious line there. Not sure what happened, but losing over a second and a half as a result. Wait a second. Wait. Yeah. Why? Yeah, wow. Jakob's going very slow. Letting Brandon Pfeiffer and the like through, and that was Taylor also that got through. Something is going on here for Jakob Kennedy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could be a potential hardware failure. Could be something else going on. Not sure, though.
Because he's even struggling to keep up with the GT4s. So, yeah, definitely something going on there. We'll take a look up the field at Retro Coffin and Rick Pixel. These two separated by less than half a second. 937, much more confident on the brakes there. Retro Coffin. Can he make that sort of move, though, into the first corner? That's going to be your best opportunity, but it's such a high-speed corner, the 90. You have to be so confident. You can see that gap just not quite where it needs to be. Retro Coffin needs to close that up. Oh, okay. So Brian Knappen joining us here in chat, unfortunately, as he should be out on the track, but understandably calling it quits here tonight. And putting a retirement for it, but having it where, okay, so we saw the Dodge. I thought you clipped the Lambo, but you got bumped from behind.
Yeah,
okay.
It would have been one of the McLarens from behind. It might have been Pietro, or it was either Pietro or it was no, it would have been Pietro, given the color of the car that was behind him. Or it could have been Kennedy, actually, now that I think about it.
I think it was Pietro, though. I think Kennedy was a little bit too far back for that, but I think it was Pietro.
Yeah. So 350 clears the stop and go.
So we hop on board here with Retro Coffin in the CCP Murica. 937, sending it into the toe. Trying to carry that speed on the outside. This is equal machinery, of course. It's the hardest overtake to make, of course, is the car and the person in the same car. And Crow saying Christmas shopping taking some priority. Pick your battle. Yeah, I mean, fair enough, Crow. I don't blame you on that one. Love to see you down to the end. But you do got, like you say, Charlie Booth in there representing Box 3 and doing a great job of it. Currently up at the top of the field without really any issue.
Quick update in the GT4 field. It looks like Martin Hoyer has found his way around Gasolina. It's 1.6 seconds back from Tobias Gable. A 1.548 second gap between Gasolina and Hoyer. with Nunzio Lanza. Actually, I'm getting an update now in the app, and Jace Wright and Rob Kesar round out the top 5.
Yeah, that is what we just had a look at right there. We see Jace Wright with a stellar around the outside pass of the bus stop chicane onto Rob Kesar. Absolutely textbook. Now, of course, there's damage on the front end of that Camaro, and that will not help. But the McLaren, Aston Martin, my goodness, you gotta love multi-class racing, everybody. Not confusing at all.
Real quick, though, Rob Kesar is not good to the regs on a pit stop. So he's going to have and actually, here goes Anthony Anderson right now. Both Anderson and I'm expecting Rob Kesar will probably be pulling in here soon because he still needs to stop to meet the mandatory pit requirement.
We also haven't seen Charlie Booth come into the pits yet, or Frederick now into the pits, and whoa, Retro Coffin with a tank slapper in the toe. Manages to save it. Let's go back and watch that one. This is a completely unforced error here. Just getting caught up, I think, in that dirty air. Also, just a bit of a Porsche moment. A little bit too much of the right-hand pedal there, and, well, you're about to see what happens. We come into the toe. Overcooks it completely. A handful of opposite lock. Manages to save it, though.
Quick thinking from Retro to just basically throw the anchor down and try and get the car to slow down as much as possible and keep it out of the Armco.
Only losing 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, but that's going to hurt. He's going to have to move through these GT4 cars now and try and get back up to the gearbox of Rick Pixel.
And GT4 cars to negotiate, luckily getting them in the best spot of the track to get back markers, heading down a straight. It's basically going to be at least a second to 2 seconds if you do catch a GT4 through this S sector. There's a few other corner complexes where if you do manage to catch, you're in a very bad spot. Rob Kesar takes the position back from Nunzio Lanza, though.
So after the pit stops, Dahlander is going to cycle out behind, looks like, Vadik, Pixel, and Coffin, cycling down to 5th. He's got plenty of space on McGowan, who's just now going into the S's. So Dahlander cycling out in 5th in GT3.
Rob Kesar took the position from Nunzio and is now handed 2 positions away. It's a bit of a struggle out there for that damaged Camaro. He needs to come into the pits. I feel like the sooner the better at this point, as you're really just affecting your lap time in a negative way.
Yeah, this right here is going to get pretty spicy as they get ready to go into the heel. Getting set up for this uphill left-hander section, and the traffic is just really tight here. As it looks like, oh man, there's a bowling moment.
Vadik is round, Brandon's off, Jarrett's off. We have 4 cars involved in that collision, and Vadik was in P2, now dropped to P3, P4. That was maybe a bit of impatience. We're going to go back and take a look at it here as we see resuming side by side, a send down the inside, a tap from the back from the McLaren. That is what caused it.
Yeah, the dive right there. It might have been the case that he could have made it with the Aston. It's just the McLaren did not expect him to move over and throw down the anchor, and I think it just caught everybody off guard. And
Vadik is in as a result. He must have massive. Everything looks good. I'm very surprised at that pit stop there for Vadik. He's already cleared his pit stop. Nonetheless, as we resume, Retro Coffin trying to make a move onto Rick Pixel in the back markers through the S's. I said before, this is the worst place you can catch a GT4 car, and I stand by it. We're about to see why here. This is very dicey, as we have Retro Coffin taking the advantage for now, but coming into the bus stop, it's anyone's game, and oh my goodness, that's way too deep in the Porsche as he hits the barrier, and Rick Pixel comes to an immediate stationary stop.
Oh man, Rick Pixel. I think I can probably diagnose what happened there to a T. It's like he's moving on the inside. He's letting Retro navigate through the GT4 traffic, and he is driving over the marbles the entire time. And then he gets to the braking zone, and the car just won't stop. So unfortunately, probably could have hit the brakes a little bit sooner, but yeah, I think just driving over the marbles for that extended period of time, and then kind of not necessarily moving your braking zone too far back, just recipe for disaster.
Speaking of, Jarrett Skinner is a chicane in a straight right now. What has happened here? Looks like there was contact potentially between him and the Janetta. Let's take a look. So following along. Nope. Self-inflicted error there from Jarrett Skinner has him facing the wrong direction.
And that was a shot, too. The car bounced off of the Armco barriers. I'm wondering how upset the front end of that car is going to be. So Calamity just hitting all over here at Watkins Glen. Charlie Booth has decided to pull the trigger on the pit stop after 23 laps and is done with his mandatory pit stop requirement. And I'm waiting for the app to update and give me a heads up as to how far ahead he is of Retro Coffin.
32 seconds, roughly. He sits very comfortably. 33 seconds, actually. Very, very comfortable gap from Retro Coffin to Charlie Booth.
Interesting. Yeah, pit wall be lying to me. It says 81 seconds.
No, definitely. He's currently coming into the heel. Retro Coffin heading into the shoe right now, so.
Yeah. Makes sense. But yeah, Charlie Booth right now is indeed cruising. But the thing that he's got to deal with now is we have a really, really solid mixture of GT3 and GT4 cars stuck together. So for Charlie Booth, the risk is not gone here at Watkins Glen. He's going to have to navigate through this traffic and see what he can do and try and come away with the W.
Nice little scrap from the Italian driver Pietro Cecce and Steven Taylor as they've been going back and forth. Steve was ahead, handed the position to Pietro though, and that is going to be our race leader currently. The number 46 car of Charlie Booth being a front marker getting involved in these two's race.
Yeah, Charlie's just trying to find his way around, and it's already tricky for Charlie because his internet is terrible. Right now it seems like
oh, speaking of, that might have been a little netcode touch right there.
Yeah, I would not be shocked at all. If I was Pietro, I would just get out of the way.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Why are you racing the leader? Why are you racing the leader?
Oh, no, and Charlie's off, and he, I think, kept it out of the barrier. That was very close, but I think we may see an investigation from the stewards here, taking a look at Pietro's overly aggressive defense there as a blue flag.
Nope, and we've got another car off track. Rick Pixel going into the pits finally to get the front end damage on that Porsche taken care of.
Oh my goodness, what? Gee, Stevens, hold your brakes, buddy, as you're returning back to the track there, now parked in the middle. What has happened here? So we lose it in the back now. Okay, so far not in the worst spot, but we're about to have a Ferrari come around the corner, I think, and just clobber. Okay, we're moving. Oh, no! This is why you hold your brakes.
Yeah, that right there, that is just use your mini-map, man. Use your mini-map as best you can. It's tough. I mean, these cars come at you pretty quick. That's the apex of the corner, so if they're racing for position, it's tough if you're parked right there.
Yeah, and yellow flags are, I know a lot of the times, an optional thing when you've made it 45 minutes into a race, but they still, trust me, they mean what they mean, and you need to pay attention to them. Yeah. But yeah, I think definitely, though, that falls under the fault there of the Fuchsia, of the Fuchsia, and yeah, just not holding your brakes.
The closest fight in GT4 right now, Timothy Glendenning is really trying to give a look on Nunzio Lanza, trying to move up the GT4 standings a little bit. Does look like Timothy, can't tell if he's trying to gain ground or if he's losing ground because the field is kind of mixed up. Yeah, as you saw earlier when we were seeing a little bit of the chaos involving the GT4s and GT3s that were combined, especially around the Brandon Pfeiffer, Miko Lepala, Anthony Anderson realm. I feel like that's the thing about this race. People are moving through realms of like really intense traffic right now, and it doesn't seem like the field is stretching that far apart. And we still got 13 minutes left in this race. We've been doing this now for over 40 minutes.
Yeah, and Timothy Glending here in the Green Machine. I'm not sure where the inspiration for that name came from. As this is a fully pink car, but maybe missing the livery there. I'm not sure. Hands that's not position. That's Drew Burakovsky getting by as a front marker. Now that is good blue flagmanship. That's a new term that I've just dubbed.
Gotta trademark that stuff. Gotta trademark that. Get your bag, man.
Also, Gasolina has dropped the position to Martin Hoyer at some point. Gaz, who started this race in the first position, now down to P3.
It was after the pit stops. For whatever reason, Gaz just did not seem to have the pace. And then I don't know if it was like an off-track moment or whatever, but Martin Hoyer has been out in front of Gasolina now for pretty much most of the second stint. And we do have the 42 car getting disqualified. That is McGowan. I believe that might have been for speeding in the pit lane.
Well, you practice your pit entries, everybody. I'll say it again. I'll say it a million times, I promise. We also, interestingly, have Mark Oliveira in the pits, the Canadian-Portuguese driver. I'm not sure what he is doing there.
We do have some more GT3, GT4 traffic coming together as Will Bruner and Sebastian Handler having their race kind of put on pause a little bit as the 350 GTR moves through the field. Does find his way to navigate around, but it does kind of put a little bit of cold water on Sebastian Handler's charge to try and see if he can find his way around the 98 Audi, piloted by Mr. Bruner. So we do still have some really good close races going on with as we get close to the 10-minute mark.
As the Austrian driver in the Austrian machinery trying to make the move onto the German, into the first corner. Is it going to happen, though? Will Brunner fairly good on the acceleration, especially compared to the KTM. As they head into the first corner, you can just see they're not able to get alongside. You need such a good exit. You almost need a mistake out of the car in front from Will Brunner to make any sort of overtake happen.
Yeah, it turns out motorcycle engines don't really go that fast, so KTM kind of struggling for power a little bit, but at the same time, Sebastian Handler has done quite a job in that machine this season. That car is a straight-up handful. I have it on good authority that it is a beast to drive. It's not really fast, it's not really good at mobility, and it tries to kill you most of the time.
And the KTM also is the, in case anyone was curious, the second smallest engine in ACC. But hold that thought as Will Brunner is run wide. This is the mistake that I was talking about, as Sebastian Handler going to be trying to make any sort of opportunity out of it, but no, is not quite in a position to capitalize, or is he? No, he's not. Outside line being taken. Going to be near impossible to make any sort of overtake happen there. Nicely done, though, sticking alongside on that bumper. Maybe even a little bit of rubbing there. Is going to get the drive, the punch on exit, but you can just see that Audi acceleration, the 5.2 liter V10, much more dominant than the 2.0 liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine.
So does the Audi have the largest motor in the GT4 field?
No, actually.
Interesting.
That belongs to the... Let's see here. Take a look at Anthony Anderson in P20. That belongs to the Camaro at a whopping...
I should have known.
Yeah, at a whopping 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. Of course, they don't allow superchargers in the GT regulations. Therefore, they had to make this car naturally aspirated rather than sticking a turbo in it.
That is pretty interesting with the Camaro being in there, because I should have completely remembered that. I mean, it's basically carrying another car inside another car.
I think that's a pretty apt description of it, yes. Surprisingly, though, an interesting fact, the Camaro isn't the heaviest GT4 car, at least according...
That's funny. Oh, man, I don't know if you want to tune in on this or not, but Steven Taylor is not holding his brakes as he rolls back onto the racing line on the exit of turn 1.
And looks like Zolotarev also caught up in this. Another incident for Zolotarev, and it looks like he may have been a passenger. We'll see what has happened. This is Taylor into the first corner, pitching around, too much throttle onto the curbs, not holding brakes, and clips the Lamborghini, who had a clear exit. Had a clear line.
Did you see it go up on 2 tires?
Yeah, it might have been enough midair time for some snacks. I'm not sure. But I didn't quite catch the result there for Zolotarev, unfortunately. But I think Yvonne is not going to be too happy with his race this time around. And Steven Taylor really struggling as well.
Well, Steven Taylor's got absolutely no front downforce on the front end of that McLaren anymore. In fact, the front end might be smashed a little bit much that you might even confuse it for an American car. from the front. But it is definitely going to be tough for the number 7 to make it back around without front downforce. But I don't know if he's going to go in for the pits. I mean, there's 7 minutes and 56 seconds left in this race.
And one fun car fact as well, the most expensive GT4 as well as the heaviest is actually the Aston Martin V8 Vantage.
That is fascinating.
The GT4. 4.0 liter twin turbo V8 at about $400,000 and 3.1 thousand pounds. So just over a ton and a half.
Meanwhile, you can get a fully decked out GT3 Super Cup Ginetta for like $100,000.
Yeah, 81 actually. You could pick one up for.
Yeah.
For this current iteration. The G55, the 2012 iteration, which we use here in ACC.
Yeah, that's crazy. Gasolina's starting to catch up. You tuned in right at the right time. Gasolina is starting to give Martin Hoyer a bit of harassment.
As it is coming down to the closing minutes, but there's still time left. Martin Hoyer needs to hold on. But it's very tight, and Gaz, last lap, a 156.3 to the 156.4 of Martin. The pace is there for Gaz, but it's one thing to catch. We all know this. It's certainly another thing to overtake, especially here at Watkins Glen.
Steve Taylor in the pits now. Front end of that car is probably just not going to get it cut, but Sebastian Handler, Will Bruner also starting to get up as we've also got some GT3 traffic through again. It's crazy, man. The traffic around here at Watkins Glen with we started off with what, 33 cars? It is
holy send. Sorry to interrupt you there, Phil.
Oh, no, sir.
We need to go back and watch that again. That was textbook from Gaz Gasolina to take the P2 away from from Martin Hoyer. Heading now into the first quarter, you can see tucking out of the braking zone at the last possible moment, sticks it down the inside, and takes the position from P9, keeps it on track the whole time. But no, Martin Hoyer, as we're going to resume here, we're going to resume side by side. Martin Hoyer clips the outside curb. They almost, I think Gaz lost the position again, able to hold on to it though for now. Tobias Gable, 10 seconds up the road. That's going to be a bit of a optimistic catch to be had.
Oh, indeed. With 5 minutes, 35 seconds, it's going to be tough. Sebastian Handler does find his way around Will Bruner as they go into turn 1.
The Camaro getting in the way of Gaz Gasolina allows Martin Hoyer to slip on through with ease, carries the speed through. Gaz late on the brakes, sends it down the inside, makes contact, pitches around. Both cars able to keep somewhat control of the Lamborghini arriving on the scene of the crime. Almost gets caught up. No, luckily doesn't make contact. But that, Gaz Gasolina hands the position back to Martin Hoyer, and now 2 seconds separating them. It's going to be tough to make up. That
is going to be really, really tough to make up. Really tough to make up. Martin Hoyer letting the GT3 around, and it's going to be, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a tough ask for Gaz to close this one down, but we'll see. We'll see. We still got 4 minutes and change left in this race. Actually, already closed a second.
So Gaz may be seeing that little red mist that I was talking about and maybe using it to his advantage rather than disadvantage. Though, I say that, and let's hope we don't get a repeat of the incident that we just saw, and maybe even a little bit more so.
Yeah. Pretty crazy right now. We got close fights all over in the GT4 category. We got Lepola, Pfeiffer, Anderson. Well, actually not Anderson. Anderson and Lanza, and then we've got Handler, Bruner. So GT4 field, bang on close with one another. Badik Ostadjev, after the accident, still managing to hold on to 6th place in GT3, moving through some of the GT4 traffic, but 10 seconds back from Pietro Keche in the 167. So it's going to be a haul if he's going to try and make that up.
Yeah, also Ivan Zolotarev, who was caught up in a couple incidents, only 2.5 seconds behind Vadik as well. But at Sitsiev, I'm not sure we're going to be seeing him gain too much. As Cheche, 10 seconds up the road. The GT3 field pretty much is secured at this point, I would say. Charlie Booth leading us by 35 seconds to Retro Coffin, 7.5 seconds to Frederick Dollander, and 37 seconds to Drew Burakovsky. It'd be a miracle for this top 3 to change. Dollander and Retro Coffin, maybe. But any other sort of looks, I'd be very, very shocked. But you never know. Anything can happen in racing, and it normally does.
Yeah. Dollander keeping his nose relatively clean and holding on to that 3rd spot, especially after a real dicey start for the front of the field in GT3 behind Charlie Booth. But Yeah, third after some of the incidents he saw in front of him with like Ivan Zolotarev and Botic. Like, I mean, he's probably thanking his lucky stars, but he's still got to get around the track at least what, 2 more times?
Yes, I think that's probably correct. Yeah, as Charlie here will be coming around to start the penultimate lap next time around. Also, Charlie with the fastest lap, pole position, fastest lap. It's been a grand slam this week for Charlie Booth.
Yeah, he's been able to manage the traffic and not let the risks get out of his control on track. He had a moment with some of the backmarker GT3 traffic there at the inner loop that we saw on the stream, but been keeping it cool and kept it out of the Armco and got quite a bit of a gap to the next car.
We have 2 battles unfolding here in the GT4 field. Brandon Pfeiffer onto Mikko Lepala, as well as Anthony Anderson defending from Nunzio Lanza. As we have a front marker getting involved. That's going to be Vadik Tsitsiev in the Ferrari 488. Managing to get through the McLaren, also trying to make dues. The Aston Martin, can it get a better drive? That's a terrible spot for the McLaren to be in. Manages to thread the needle, though. Nicely done for Taylor. That was very dicey. Is going to get firmly ahead using that McLaren twin-turbo V8's straight line speed advantage over the GT4s. As that's way wide for Anthony, but that's going to be also way deep for Nunzio. And that allows a front marker through again, though. Wide goes Anthony Anderson. Nunzio side by side through the S's is going to resume, trying to get any sort of exit he can now onto the back straight. Looks like the momentum will be there. He should have this done before they reach quarter entry. But is it, though, as they come to the braking zone? Anthony gonna go slamming onto the brakes as late as he can, tries to keep it alongside, but not able to do so. The back end skips out. I think there was contact and a massive hit to the barrier for Nunzio Lanza.
Yeah, Lanza's not going to be happy with that.
This is a replay here.
Lanza back on track. He's going to rejoin after Brunner, so that's probably going to drop him all the way back to 25 in the overall.
Now, the question that the stewards are going to have to be asking is, was the Aston Martin out of shape before the Camaro hit him? Or did the Camaro's contact make him go out of shape? Because from that angle, it almost looked like the Aston Martin may have lost it before, but that's going to be down to the stewards, of course, afterwards. Big shout out to the Box 3 stewards for taking a look at all that and determining the ruling. That's going to be a tricky one, I have no doubt.
Just a quick report that Charlie Booth will be on the final lap now.
And is going to be approaching right behind us. We can see now coming by Gaz Gazulina.
Still trying to catch up to Martin Hoyer.
We might actually have both of our P1s finish like side by side. That'd be pretty poetic. It's going to be close. I think we're going to see Tobias Gable have to do another lap, though. We'll see. Jakob Kennedy loses a position to Rick Pixel. I think there was an error that let that one on. As well, Gaz Gazulina trying to make that position back on Martin Hoyer. We've seen these two scrap it out for a while now, especially in these closing sectors. Last lap, actually potentially, no, this is the last lap for these two drivers, absolutely. So needs to get it done. Running out of track is Gaz, heading into Sector 3 now. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it. This will be a good run, but not quite. It has to deal with the Nissan GTR as well. That GTR should probably, and looks like he is actually being extremely respectful to these two battling and not really forcing them out of their line. In fact, he's just going to let them battle. That is extremely respectful from that Nissan GTR. Very curious who that is. Let's give a shout out whoever that is.
That is going to be Petroleum.
Petroleum, who has nobody to worry about in terms of lap time. So yeah, just allowing them to battle it out to the end. Hats off there to Pietro Petroleum, because that's very respectable. A lot of the times you'll just see these GT3s plow through without a care in the world. Not quite here, and unfortunately Gaz goes too deep into the corner, is not going to be able to make it. Tobias Gable finishes, well, will finish first position. Martin Hoyer in second, Gaz Gazulina in third. Charlie Booth, though, the talk of the GT3s, comes across the line for P1, and a large gap to the field behind. Oh no, Rick Pixel's out of fuel. That was Rick Pixel pulled off to the side of the road. He has ran out of fuel on the final lap. Oh no, and so is... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to say, so is G. Steven. G. Steven just has a bit of a different issue at hand here.
Oh, Fife and Retro touching on corner exit, but everybody's going to get across the line safe and
Wait
sound.
a second. Retro Coffin has dropped the position to Dollander. How did that happen? There was 7 seconds between them at the end here. What has gone on to allow Dollander to lose this position? So this is the final lap here. Back markers, GT4 back markers heading into the final corner. Is that going to be a touch with the Janetta? And that sends him wide, and you can see the inside line there being taken by Frederick Dollander, and that's a P2 finish by just margins over Retro Coffin.
Yeah, that right there is an instance where I think Retro was so anxious to get around the GT4 car that he forgot that all he needed to do was finish ahead of the GT3 car.
Yeah, that's actually probably a pretty good assessment, as it's, yeah. Very unfortunate. Retro going to be kicking himself for that one, I have no doubt. Also, Martin Hoyer does come across the line to finish P1. Gaz Gazulina in second. Jace Wright in... Tobias in first. Martin Hoyer in second. Gaz Gazulina in third. Apologies. Tobias still yet to come across the line.
Yeah, with where everybody finished, Tobias Gable is kind of one of the few GT4 cars that's lapping around by himself. It's him, Kazupski, and Foss. Only ones left on the track. But he's going to come across the line and take the top spot in GT4.
I think we have a fuel issue here for the number 21 as well. And yeah, also, apparently, that was a game crash from Rick Pixel. You hate to see it. On the last lap, I wouldn't call it a waste of an hour. Of course, you know, you take every race with a grain of salt, you know, at the end of the day. And when something like that happens, I wouldn't say you wasted your time. You drove a great race, so... Honestly, hats off to you, Rick. Put some incredible action on. Definitely one to go back and watch. Unfortunate that it had to come to that, though.
Yeah, you definitely put on a show for the fans at home. But yeah, that was a heck of a race, Mike.
Yeah, we're gonna head back to the booth here. Welcome back, everybody. As what a lovely race it has been here at Watkins Glen. And round 3, heading into round 4 next time around, we're going to be over at Nürburgring for the finals of this championship. That's going to be next week, not next week, excuse me. That's going to happen on January 7th, and we're going to be the next year, in fact. So into 2024, this championship will be continuing. Definitely join us for that then. And in the meantime, big thank you to Phil Milwee for joining me. He's up there, not next to me, but above me. And, of course, big thank you to everyone here in chat that's been providing us some amazing entertainment throughout the entirety of this race. Of course, I'm Mike Noss in the booth. We'll be back here in a couple weeks' time for the grand finals, round 4 of this championship. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a lovely holidays from Box 3, and take it safe. Have a nice time spending some time with your family. But once again, thank you all. Hope you all have a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.